When I read the situation report about the incident a few hours after it happened, I called the regimental commander and I asked him for details of what had happened. It seemed different to me. Unfortunately, Marines dying or being seriously wounded is common in combat. We expect Marines, and for that matter, soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Coast Guardsmen, regardless of rank or MOS, to do their duty. To stand their ground and do their duty, and to die, if that's what the mission requires. The regimental commander had just returned from the site and he agreed with me, but reported that there were no American witnesses to the event, just Iraqi police. I figured if there was any chance of finding out what actually happened, and then to recognize and decorate these two young Marines and acknowledge their bravery, I'd have to do it myself. Because I understood that the bureaucrats back in Washington would never accept Iraqi statements for what had taken place. If getting these Marines properly awarded had any chance at all, it had to come under my signature as a general officer. So I traveled to Ramadi the next day and spoke individually to a half dozen Iraqi police, all of whom told the same story. They said the blue truck turned down into the alley and immediately sped up as it made its way through the serpentine Jersey walls. They all said they knew immediately what was going on, particularly as the Marines began to fire. The Iraqi police all began firing as well. Then, to a man, they ran for safety just prior to the explosion. They all survived. Many were injured, some seriously injured. One of the Iraqis said to me that they had all run from the danger like any normal man would to save his own life. What he didn't know until then, what he learned that very day, was that Americans are not normal. With tears welling up, he said, "Sir, in the name of God, no sane man would have stood there and done what they'd done. No sane man. They saved all of us." What we didn't know at the time, and what I didn't know at the time, and only learned a couple of days later, after I wrote a summary of this bravery and submitted it, and submitted them both, Yale and Herder, for the Navy Crosses, which is the number 2 award for Marines and sailors in combat. What I didn't know was that one of our security cameras that we had at the location that was damaged initially in the blast had caught everything. It had happened exactly as the Iraqis had described it to me. It took exactly 6 seconds by that recording from when the truck entered the alley until it exploded. 6 seconds. And you can watch. And I did watch many, many times on this recording the last 6 seconds of their young lives. When it first started, I suppose it took a second or so for the Marines to separately come to the same conclusion about what was going on. They had no time to talk it over. Only enough time to take half an instant and think about what the sergeant had told them to do only a few minutes before: let no unauthorized personnel or vehicles pass. At that point in the recording, the 2 Marines had about 5 seconds left to live. It took maybe another 2 seconds for the two jarheads to raise their weapons, take aim, and open fire on the truck. By this time, the truck was halfway through the barriers and gaining speed the whole time. Here, the recording shows a number of Iraqi policemen, some of whom had fired their AKs, now scattering like the normal and rational men they were. Some running right past the Marines. The two Marines had about 3 seconds left to live. For about 2 seconds more, the recording shows the Marines' weapons firing nonstop. The truck's windshield exploded into shards of glass as their rounds took it apart and undoubtedly tore into the body of this terrorist that was trying to kill their brothers. Unaware of the danger at the time, the other Marines and Iraqi soldiers in the barracks could take comfort in the fact that 2 Marines were on watch and would die before they ran. The recording shows the truck careening to a stop immediately in front of the 2 Marines. In all of this instantaneous violence, Yale and Herder never hesitated. They never stepped back. They never even started to step back. They never even shifted their weight. With their feet spread shoulder width apart, they leaned into the danger, firing as fast as they could. They only had 1 second left to live. Then the truck explodes. The camera goes blank. And the 2 young men go to their God.